Hello, beautiful muses. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot. And this week's reading, I think, will be very interesting. It's inspired by something going on in the transits of astrology, pretty much as I'm doing this reading. So it is timeless. You can come here at any point, because one of the transits I'm sort of integrating into this reading is one that's lasting until 2040. So, yeah, that's a long time. So I guess I shouldn't say timeless, but until 2040, you're good. So what this is tapping into is the planet. Two things. The planet Jupiter is just switching into a new sign. It has a year-long transit through signs, and it's switching from Gemini into Cancer. And that's sort of like moving from, so Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the zodiac, so a year in each zodiac sign. And the first three signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, are kind of like spring energy in the zodiac. And so as Jupiter moves from Gemini to Cancer, actually today is when that happens, when I'm recording this, so this will probably come up a day or two after that happens. Moving into Cancer is sort of like Jupiter moving into a summer phase. And Jupiter is our explorer, it's our seeker, it's the archetype within us that pushes our boundaries, that asks the questions, that holds big visions and shoots for the stars and has a sense of belief and certain philosophies it follows in life. And so on one hand, there's this new summer energy coming on. But a few days after this happens, something even bigger takes place with Jupiter. And that is the story that plays out between Jupiter and Saturn comes to a really, really pivotal mark. So the way I read transits in astrology are through story arcs. So every time there's like, and I apologize for those of you that don't know much about astrology. I'm trying to say this in a way that is simple. So when planets meet up at the same degree of the zodiac, that's called a conjunction. And to me, that's when they seed a new goal. It's like when they're having their face-to-face meeting and they seed some sort of new shared intention. And the time it takes for the faster planet to catch back up to the slower planet is called its synodic period. And within that, there's like a journey arc that happens. And all of the different kind of transit angles or lines of communication that tend to open up between those planets during that time also reflect, in my lens of how I read astrology, different stages of that journey arc. So at a conjunction, it's the seed point, and if you were to map that onto like the hero's journey, that's the call to action. And in the journey, hero's journey arc, after the call to action, there's the refusal to the call, and then there's the meeting with the mystical guide. And that whole point, like these first few stages, that's what I consider that intention or seeding being in an incubation phase. It's not actually like birthed into reality yet. It's not embodied yet. And so it takes a while for that conjunction to manifest. And at the first separating square, when those planets are at a 90-degree angle from one another for the first time, they'll do it a second time when it's going back towards another conjunction, but the separating from the conjunction, there's the separating square, and that's like entering the new world, or in the hero's journey, we would call that the belly of the whale, where you need to do something counter to what you've been doing to get off of the old road and get onto the new road and start to make action happen in new ways in your new life. So Some ways you might see that in like movies are like when, what's a good example? Pinocchio being, has to light a fire to be spit out of the well. Is that what happened in Pinocchio? Am I crossing wires with another story? Or a more, that's a cartoonish type of thing, like a more mundane thing would be like in Cobra Kai. I can't remember the characters' names all of a sudden, but the character that used to be kind of the antagonist in the original Karate Kid movies, he's kind of like in this slump. He's like, I think I'm sort of making this up because it's been a minute since I've seen it, but my recollection, or like how my images that I'm seeing about it are like portraying it to my memory, is like he's in like a dead-end job in this like not great apartment. He's slovenly. He's kind of lost the plot a little bit. And that's the old road falling apart. That's a metaphor for the old road falling apart. And something happens where there's a new challenge, a new activation, that suddenly that character starts to clean up their apartment, starts to work out, starts to like get their life back on track. But there's this thing of like purging the old and starting to weave in the new, and that can look like purges and new passions, new activations taking place. So with Jupiter and Saturn, they have a 20-year cycle. It takes them 20 years to go through this journey arc. But there's an even bigger Jupiter-Saturn pattern that happens in the sacred geometry of their dance, where they will meet up. So in astrology, there's 12 signs of the zodiac, and there are 4 elements. So the 3 signs of the zodiac will be in one element, 3 signs in another element, and so on. So each element has 3 signs within it. For 200 years, Jupiter and Saturn will meet up in the same signs of the same element. They'll kind of ping pong between those 3 signs of a same element. And they have been doing this in our lifetime in earth signs. And when they started doing this, it was the birth of the Industrial Revolution. And we can kind of feeling that fall apart. You hear people talking about like late stage capitalism and, just like this material overwhelm. That road is falling apart. Jupiter and Saturn seeded a new journey in a new element. So a new 200-year cycle birthing in this first 20-year cycle. They met up in 2020, at the very, very end of 2020. I think it was like December 21st, in the first degree of Aquarius. So starting this air sign anchoring in of like a very different socio-cultural quality. So when I say socio-cultural, it's like, what are the norms and laws and constructs, and what is the culture like? Those things kind of meshed together. So this week, when I'm doing this reading, they're going to have their first square. So we seeded this new epoch of the air element, which, in the past when that's happened, that's been like the age of enlightenment. It's been a time of ideas, decentralization, and a lot of movement of ideas, movement of like a lot of migration, a lot of flow between things, opening up different ideas, rubbing different ideas together, creating, just stirring the pot a little bit to move our minds, to think in different ways, to alchemize stuff and mix and match and find currents of friction. The air can be very friction and tumultuous, but also freeing and enlightening things up, a little less heavy than the earth. It has its own challenges, but coming out of this 200-year period, we feel this road falling apart. It is. That's because it is in the stars. And this week, we finally get to that point where this new air age, not only in the first seeding, it meets every 20 years for 200 years in air, but the first seeding where it's anchored in for good. I won't get into, there was kind of a back and forth between earth and air for a bit. That tends to happen when signs switch, but we were still anchored in earth for like 200 years. A little bit of air got swirled in. We went back to earth, and now air is anchoring in for good for the 200 years. But it's been an incubation. It hasn't been graspable. It's like been in that concept phase, and that we feel it in the air, right? We're reaching for it. We're kind of deconstructing things about the last 200 years, but we haven't been able to quite, make things move in that new epoch, and that those new ideas swirling and concepts swirling. But this week, that first separating square happens, which means we start out on the new road. A lot of purging, a lot of activation. It is a testing time, and it is the new epoch presenting its road in front of us. It's the new world. And it can be a little bit tumultuous when that happens. And so all of these things together, this switch of Jupiter made me look at this more intensely, or even like notice this transit was coming up. And so I was like, okay, well, it's a big moment for Jupiter. Not only is it switching signs, but it's like opening us up to this new epoch in a way that we can actually step onto it. Embody that seed is when that seed that happened in 2020 is now embodied. It's not just in our minds and in, this nebulous place. And so I kind of want to look at this for us, like what is this going to bring out in each of us? Like what new kinds of archetypes is that going to pull out of us? And what does that mean? How are we going to reorient on our path? So that is what this reading is about. If that was confusing, if you don't understand astrology and you're like, what in the world did she just say? Or you do understand astrology, but that was a little advanced, I am so happy to get into the comments and answer some questions and clarify a few things if you need that. I will do I'm not great at watching my comments because I only get on once a week, but I will do my best to watch those. So 3 piles where we're going to look at what this new air epoch or kind of grand cycle of time is going to bring out in us. I should also say, I think I mentioned somewhere, but I want to reintroduce and talk a little bit more about. So this first air one that's anchoring in the air time is Aquarius, and it is about humanity. It is about networks. It is about liberation and freedom. It's about collective consciousness, the collectives. It wants a sense of freedom. It wants a sense of hope for the future. It wants to plan for the future. It likes to drop ego in order to contribute to the greater causes. And it is a rebel. It does want to shake up the status quo, which is a great energy coming in after this air that's the earth epoch that was very heavy and just like seems to not want to let go. The old guard, when that new seed is coming through, will do anything to hold on, make America great again, just clasping on to the old hierarchies. It's just, that's just not, they're trying really hard, but there's not going to be much to hold on to soon. But even so, Aquarius is the rebel. It loves liberation forces. It loves fighting oppression and repression. It wants to open up borders. It wants to move energies. It wants to wire in things that are more humanity centered rather than local or national centered. Is that a new world order coming in, new worldly governments coming in rather than nationalist governments coming in? Who knows? I don't know how big that becomes, but it's very different. Something very different is coming. So what is that going to bring out? What kind of archetype is that going to ignite to start developing? Like, how are you plugging into this? That's what we want to look at here. So we've got 3 piles to choose from. Pile 1 is the sloth. And don't gravitate too much. These are actually going to be talking about, just because I don't want you attaching too much to these cards, I will describe what they are going to be about. The first thing we're going to look at in each pile is looking at what this past air epoch kind of brought out archetypally in you. So this is speaking to the past, our pile selection. So sloth, seek nature's wisdom. Snake, welcome higher guidance. And owl, activate psychic insight. So feel into these cards, maybe with that illumination I also added in, what feels resonant to ways in which you've kind of aligned with a very industrial, earthy lifetime. And or just drop any of those and say what color is drawing me in, or just what energy is drawing me in. Where is my eye gravitating? So pause here if you need some time to sit with these cards and feel into the pile that is right for you. When you're ready, timestamps will be in descriptions, and I will see you in your readings. Hello, Pile 1. Welcome to your reading, where we are looking at this new epoch of time and archetypally how this is going to trigger some transitions in different aspects of you stepping back and stepping forward and plugging into a very different time that's about to unfold for us that we've all felt coming. So we're first going to look at what this air epoch kind of brought out of you, how that this very the earth epoch that we're coming from, how you kind of resonated with that and what that brought out of you in the kind of socio-cultural norms and temperatures of things. And so the first card, the one you picked, was Sloth, Seek Nature's Wisdom, which makes me feel, we're going to pick one more card to kind of get that full general view of an archetype that has been kind of tapped into this epoch. But generally with the sloth, this makes me feel that like the earth epoch was very comfortable for you. You might be a creature of comfort. You might enjoy the material realm and be very connected, to body, to the tangible, to sight, scent, smell, sight, scent, sound, texture, all those, 5 very earthy senses, really enjoying the beauty of nature and the natural world. This isn't necessarily to say that will disappear from you in this new epoch. This is more saying that like you were comfortable in this earth epoch that has been present since our, for our whole lifetimes essentially. Let's get one more archetype card to kind of fill this out even more. And we have Apocalypsis. Interesting. I'm actually gonna look that up in the book. I've actually never drawn that card, strangely. I use this deck all the time. Removing the veil of deception. I'll just read the book for you guys. Apocalypsis indicates a particularly painful time, one that unfolds when 2 disparate dynamics occur simultaneously, pulling the psyche in seemingly opposite directions. The first is a lifting of the veil. This means truths that have been kept in the dark are revealed, seen, and unearthed. unearthed. That definitely connects to the earth thing. No matter how relieving it is to witness them come into the light, an element of despair and grief follows. The secondary dynamic is the regeneration that comes from the wreckage of the revealed truth. The old narrative breaks, the new story forms. Apocalypsis energy is similar to forest fires, devastation for the sake of regeneration. The veil lifts and we see who and what has been hiding. From the nakedness of the truth, a child is born. Have faith in the process. Hold your center. That is the only way. So I think you guys are very sensitive people, and it's been an awkward time to be in this earth epoch for you, because on one hand there's contradiction, in this time for you. You enjoy, you're very connected to the material, the sensual, the tangible pleasures of life, but in your sensitivity you also recognize the destruction that has been, wreaking on earth, and the overabundance of earth energy, and just the heaviness of it all at the same time, which does feel like that sloth where it's like, yeah, you enjoy it, but you feel the heaviness of it. So it's been a very contrary time for you. Like, on one hand, there are things about this earth epoch we've been in that you've enjoyed, but a deeper wisdom and sensitivity in you that felt the heaviness of it, that it's like coming to the end of this 200-year time, and that's heavy. It's like too much, at the time when we get to the end of any huge cycle, especially like 200 years is a very huge cycle. End of any cycle, you feel the weight, but a 200-year cycle is like, it's too much. And so it's like been this weird thing to hold within you of like, well, I enjoy, being entrenched in this earthy energy, but I feel the weight of it and I don't know what to do with it. So in some ways, this new epoch may come as a relief. We'll see how you interact with the air, but I think that weight that has maybe even slowed you down in your own body, in your own feeling of how to move forward in life, that is coming to an end. So contrary feelings about the ending too, where it's like, okay, well, I've I don't know what's coming with the air. I can feel that right now. Like, I don't know what's coming with the air, how that interaction is going to be. I don't know that I get along with air, and I do love earth, but it's been heavy, and so I am ready for a change. I'm just nervous and uncertain about how that change will interact with my energy. So that's what we're going to look at next. The rest of the reading, we'll be looking at this new air epoch that, when does that, I think that actually happens on Sunday, June 15th, 2025 is when that first separating square happens that takes us into the breakthrough of the anchored in earth air epoch for 200 years, and especially in this first 20-year cycle. Okay, so let's see what air is going to bring forward in you. Eros, which is, I just love how the book, I hadn't planned on reading from the book, but I just did because I'd never had their apocalypsis card. So, but I love their description, so I'm just going to continue with that. But it is sort of like love and passion, which is lovely to see. I think that likely is relief to see. We'll see what the animal card is, but initially, love as desire, eroticism, sensuality. Through Eros though Eros can be depicted as unbridled sexuality and eroticism, a more contemplative understanding of this archetypal energy leads us to the root of desire itself. What do we long for? Why are we awakened by love? What makes us hesitate in the face of intimacy? Eros connects us with the primal longing to merge with another human being, nature, music, art, plants, food, or anything that we perceive we are separate from. Eros allows us to momentarily unite. Our heart embraces otherness, and in doing so, we further understand our own. Our life force awakens. This card reveals an inevitable initiation into love's labyrinth. You may find yourself swirling in a new territory of desire and sensuality. Explore the labyrinth with a curious and honest heart. And remember, though the way is circuitous, you are always being led towards its center. I love that for you guys. I feel that there's some relief there, because there is, with that seeking nature's wisdom and the feeling I felt of like being very connected to embodiment and whatnot, something about the air still keeps you very connected to sensuality. New ideas. So Venus is one of the earth sign rulers, ruler of Taurus, but it also rules an air sign, Libra. And so that Venus energy, it might be that you have a strong Venus centering, like you might be a Taurus or Libra, or have a moon in one of those signs, or a rising sign in one of those signs, or Venus in your chart is highly aspected and prominent. I feel like that's what we're playing off of here, where it's like you are this Venusian type of creature, but you felt, and Venus is sensitive, it felt the weight of that earth, even though it adores the earth. But now it's being able to tap into that Libra side of things, where it's like ideas are romantic and sensual, and deep conversation can be very sensual, and connection and resonance can be very sensual and beautiful. And so I think your Venus is still happy with what's coming up. But let's see what the animal is to go along with this. Look at that, tiger. Embrace touch and sensuality. Yes, so never fear, or don't fear, I guess I should say, that uncertainty I was feeling before of like, well, what's Earth going to do? Like, I am kind of this earthy creature, or what's this air time going to do? I'm this earthy creature. So I'm a little nervous about the air, but it's like, don't fear. You don't lose that. It enhances things, and it's lighter. I mean, going from sloth to tiger, I just feel movement with these lines and stuff, and this tiger's in motion, and it feels like this kind of diamond in the center of Eros is like something's moving out of the center into life, And I just feel you coming more to life and enjoying some of the flows and currents and movements that are going to be coming in. And you don't lose that sensuality or that embodiment or the love of Earth. There's something in the movement of ideas and the flow of energy, but still is very physical. Just think about air rushing, the wind and bird sounds. Like, it is still, air can still be very sensual, and so you don't have to lose connection to Earth. It just kind of resonates a little different and picks up a little different, and it has a different kind of quality. But I think that you're going to enjoy it more. You're going to enjoy a little bit of flow. It feels like opening up the windows in a stagnant room and letting air flow through, and that like reviving you in some way. So that's the feeling I'm getting. Okay, let's see what you are doing with this energy. We're going to do a few cards around that. What are you going to be doing with this energy that is awakened in you? How are you plugging into the air? Lapis lazuli, make a decision. And we see sort of this forward, that movement I was feeling. It's like, yeah, you're going to move out of that sloth mode of just kind of luxuriating and but feeling a bit heavy about that at the same time, to making, being more decisive and getting up and off of your hinds and doing more, engaging more in life, making bigger, that I don't know why that came to me, making bigger decisions. Yeah, whatever that means to you. Connection. Yep, so more connection, I would say more community, more relationships, more people and ideas and learning and travel. There's just like action and flow taking place. So going back to that kind of impression that came to me of like you're sitting in, maybe in this beautiful, luscious, comfortable room that you've designed and you love it in there, but it feeling a little stagnant, and that opening up windows, creating airflow and giving you new life, that is like, that activates you to get up and go do something, or to invite other people into the space, or, like that new airflow is reviving you to do things. To get up and off of, out of that sloth mode and into activation. But in this very, curious, connective, like your mind is stimulated. It's really lovely energy. Okay, and then one more. Leadership. Beautiful. Look at all these blue, violety, indigo, violet, blue kind of cards here. That does make me feel this sense of like your third eye activating. So having a lot of vision and foresight and a certain command and authority coming through, which feels like the tiger can have that. These big cats are very regal. Lapis lazuli is very regal. So there is this kind of, leadership, authority, strength coming through. So even though there's like movement, that switches the tone for me, because I was feeling like a lot of lively and movement and buzzing energy, but this leadership kind of tied some things together for me, where it's like, that might be the case, but also this ability to detach and see bigger pictures, and knowing how to bring unity to things and move things. So often being able to step away from too much busyness or too much movement to kind of find your vision, find your perspective, and find kind of the goal and the target, to help unify and move people towards people or yourself or things, life, whatever, towards specific targets, specific aims. So that could be in your own life, like starting a business, or that could be around, with Aquarius energy being this first air energy anchoring in, that is around, collaboration and collectives and networks, and it has a lot of association with like nonprofits too, and movements and stuff like that. So it could be in a bigger sense, or it could be more in your personal life, and that probably is different for each of you. Okay, so let's do some tarot cards to get a little bit of story in these first days. So the first tarot card is going to kind of show us a first step with this first separating square taking place soon after, a few days after this reading goes live. Like, what are the first I need to make a little more space underneath. What are the first steps? Like, what are some actions you can take, or the first kind of things you need to start doing to meet this square that's taking place? Oh, that wants to fall. 5 of Pentacles. I think that it is initially going to be a little awkward for you. I think that change in tone, even though we've all sensed it coming and you've sensed it coming, I think its emergence and its embodiment in you, in your instincts and actions, may feel a little disorienting. But, you know, fives are a number that are trying to break out of a box. And when it comes to the Pentacles, that's around values and material and earth. So your first step is kind of breaking the constructs of your values, of your norms around material realm. And it's because you're trying to reach into higher spheres. A lot of times how we perceive the 5 of Pentacles can feel like a lack mentality. But underneath that, there's a change of values happening where you're trying to reach into something a little bit more spiritual, a little bit more elevated. And so there is a little bit of tension and struggle in you, but one that is seeking to break free. But some uncertainty there. But just keep following those impulses and those instincts, and you'll find the reasons for why your values are changing, or why material things in your world are shifting, and why you may perceive a bit of some lack. It's usually the spiritual swoops in to nurture you when this happens. And it doesn't have to result ultimately in a lack of material. It just is a shift in values taking place. Okay, so what will that sort of lead to? What will that tension, this is the first tension point. What is that going to lead to? This kind of shift in values. The Tower, yeah, it is. The Tower is very appropriate for the new world. It is letting go of literally an old world falling apart. But it gives room for fresh passion, fresh impulse, fresh order to take place. But it can be disorienting at first. It's going to come in very quickly, but I think that you'll just as quickly see that this isn't happening to you, but it's like something in you is creating it. And you're going to start to like help it along and be like, okay, well, maybe that first moment, first month or two was awkward or like uncertain or difficult, but I'm seeing very quickly that as things are clearing out, these new impulses are coming into me, and that is really activating my energy and passion. So I think pretty quickly you're going to help clear out the debris and be excited about it. 6 of Cups, there is some nostalgia for your past, or there may be things from your past that you know how when we think back on our past and like when I was a kid, I had this hope or that hope, but life happened and I totally forgot about that thing in me that I was so connected to. Something like that might be rediscovered in the ashes of the old road and have more freedom to birth into this new road. So something from your inner child that wasn't able to express because of the epoch we were in now has some room to express. And then the Fool. Yeah. So all of these tarot cards, my intention was like, you know, what's going on pretty quickly here. So initially, I'm guesstimating here, but I'm going to say the first couple months of this, starting at the separating square, June 15th, 2025, will be a little uncertain and a little awkward and a little, you know, struggling to break out of a box, but also clasping to hold on to the past and like what's happening. And then things kind of falling apart, but you quickly seeing that like, oh, that is actually making room for something new. So I'm going to help that along because it feels like it's lightening my life up. It's lightening me up. It's creating space. It is a little bit, you know, dramatic, but I'm going to lean into it. A part of you that kind of got left behind in your inner child is remembered, reattached to, it has new room to grow and dream. And then you find that impulse to leap into this new quality of being, this new kind of tiger eros. It's like you find that archetype and it feels good, and you just leap into it and into, you know, the leadership and stuff. This may come, you know, down the road, but you feel the impulse of that, you know, like the first threads of that. It's like you're saying yes to and taking big leaps towards a very new life. So this epoch for you that's coming into the new road as the old road must be exited, really is quite dramatic for you guys. You have the Tower and the Fool, the old road crumbling beneath you, and just wholeheartedly leaping into something totally beginner, fresh, new, different, completely passionate and lit up and impulsive and excited, and throwing your whole body, you know, into this. So, you know, give some space to some uncertainty, some awkwardness, some potential fear in the coming months, because underneath that you're going to find just like a whole totally new level of aliveness in your Eros tiger, you know, coming to life and leaping into something. Okay, so further down the road, you know, once we get more into the maturity of this first 20 years, what kind of result are we going to see here? And this is a little abstract. I don't want to get too specific because it's going to be different for each of you, but like generally, like what is that going to start to bear fruit? What kind of fruit will that start to bear once we get a little further into this cycle? Like, so something to look forward to, you know, or to like aim, you know, with this leadership card coming and being able to aim for things, big goals and long-term plans. Like this could help be an anchor, whatever this card is. Pyrite, glamour, order, folly. This feels like a realm of being able to create fictions, or being able to use art to inspire. Because pyrite is a little bit of illusionary gold. It's not real gold, but a lot of people on first impression think it's gold. So it has this like Neptunian quality to it, where there's a little bit of illusion there, and Neptune really rules arts and dreams and magic and glamour and fashion and music and, all that kind of stuff. So there may be some kind of glamour that you're going to be able to move and manifest, and something that inspires, something that moves people. So it is a little bit more on like an artistic arc here, which makes sense with like the Venus stuff that came through early in the reading. It would make sense that like a lot of people drawn to this pile might be more artistic in nature. So being able to just create, as simple as being able to create beautiful things, but in a very new way than you have been doing. Just like a very different quality, a new way, something beautiful, inspiring, creative going on there. Interesting. Very cool. I love where this went. There were definitely some up and down moments in my sense as we went through this. Before we got into seeing what the air archetype was going to be, I felt a little bit of like, I don't know, how is air going to be for me? And then the Five of Pentacles and Tower kind of was like, oh, okay. But like, it's like underneath those hesitations and fears and reservations, you're going to be so pleasantly surprised, and results coming down the road I think are going to be very creative and beautiful. So there you go. All right, happy new epoch, kind of manifesting, or at least opening up the new road. Happy journeys. Love to hear how this resonated in the comments. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Helps other people find it. And I will see you in future readings. Hello, pile 2, my snake friends. Welcome to your reading, where we are looking at how this new air epoch of time is going to activate you in new ways, bring out different kind of archetypes or trajectories in your life. If you have not listened to the intro, definitely go do that. It really will help this reading make a lot more sense. So to start out, I want to see this air epoch, that the road we are finally exiting. We sensed we are exiting for the past 5 years, but are now finally actually exiting and turning onto a new 200-year road. What was the air or the earth epoch that we've been in? What did this activate in you? How have you related to, and what did this earthy time that we were born into, this industrial age that we were born into, what did this kind of bring out in you? So snake is your first card with this. We're going to get one other card. So welcome higher guidance. So this is like the snake up the tree. This isn't just snake on the ground, which is interesting to me. I always think of snakes as very, very earthy, literally on the ground and feeling the vibrations of the ground for its sort of like cues for things. But this is the snake up in the tree. It is, the snake represents wisdom. The snake represents sensuality. The snake represents rebirth and renewal. And then up in the tree, there's this higher mind with it as well. And so my first impression here, before we get your second card, is sort of like having a lot of perspective and wisdom about how to plug into and understand this very earthy time. You may have like things brought out of you. You may have been able to plug into knowing how to like guide others. It doesn't feel so much as like leadership as more of like a mentor and a guide, like really being able to, like a lot of wisdom around the material realm or how to navigate within material constructs and norms, but in a way that was wise, that had perspective, that had foresight, which probably means you had an understanding that this was a time that was bound to end in your lifetime. Maybe why you took high ground with the tree. You knew the ground was you knew that shift was coming, so you took higher ground. Maybe you've been actually like waiting and watching for the air epoch, waiting for your time to shed an old skin and renew and return to ground. So you may be someone who's been taking shelter from this very earthy industrial time, had a lot of wisdom, sage advice to give about, however that leans towards you or however it resonates, whether it's like actually being able to give some perspective and guidance and wisdom about being fortuitous in this material time, or how to be prepared for the shift. Some of you may be more visionary in that perspective, and others may be just more focused on specific, how to like lead people in material ways kind of thing. So whichever way resonates to you. But you do have like this higher perspective, and I definitely sense for some of you, it's like you kind of sensed that this shift was going to come in your lifetime, and you've been kind of bidding your time to shed a skin and return to ground. You've been taking refuge in some way, seeking higher ground in some way. But let's see what your archetype card is. This one wants to come out the Judge. I can't help but notice the hands popped out to me on this card, kind of stop and receive, like letting things, being receptive and being non-receptive to certain things, like knowing when to halt and when to take life in kind of thing. That's been part of like a good judge of like how to, I like this because it blends what I was feeling of that two options of like either you knew how to guide and have wisdom around material things in general, or how to give that vision that there is a shift coming. I just see a lot of wisdom here and restraint of like knowing what material things to say yes to and what to have kind of shut out, and been like, I don't think that that's wise with the shift coming up that I'm feeling. I'm not going to get too entrenched in this earthy construct, but I'm not going to completely shut myself out of it. Like I have to live in the present at the same time, even though I can I do feel this visionary thing with you. Even though I can sense this huge shift in my lifetime and what that, like how to be prepared for that and lead my life in alignment with that. It doesn't mean I'm just going to wait for that day and then strike. Like I still have to be involved in this earth epoch and in the industrial epoch of earth. And that means taking life in to an extent, but having restraint around that and keeping that vision and using wise judgment of how I use material and how I, there's just like this strong balance within you and wisdom within you of the material realm. But this visionary quality of like, this eye poking through, like I do see the future. I see through the veil of this earth epoch that it's not going to last my whole lifetime. And so I do have my eye on the future, and that means there are certain things about this epoch I'm just going to say no to, but I still have to be a part of it, and I have to take it in to an extent. That's what this feels like to me. So a lot of restraint, what I overall am feeling is like a lot of restraint in you guys. Bidding your time, a lot of restraint. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that visionary quality you have saw this time coming, saw this shift coming from, you know, your earliest days. So now once the road opens up to the air epoch, what is that going to bring out of you differently, you know? You can leave behind this deep restraint and wisdom and lean into something else, this thing you first saw coming. Wander into it and be something else, you know? We've got the stone. Okay. I might actually read from the book for this one. I'm curious what they how they are interpreting the stone for an archetype. I have my own thoughts, but I kind of want to see what they have. The eternal, the anchor, the rock. Yeah, I already sense that about you. You're very strong people. As an archetypal object, the stone holds psychic and literal weight. That psychic thing, you guys are very visionary. Its energy is one of permanence, concreteness, and reliability. Okay. The stone's ability to transform is nearly imperceptible to us as it changes ever so slowly over countless human lifespans. A single stone may see thousands of generations come and go, therefore it contains an ancient and eternal presence. The stone is best used to anchor our wild side, so no matter how far we roam, we can always find our way back. The stone tethers us to earth, helping us to ground and connect us to stillness. Yes, the snake is coming down to earth now. It's time to come down to ground. Helping us to ground and connecting us to stillness, quiet, and peace. I love that feeling of peace for you guys. It's like you've been waiting and watching, and for this moment, there's something in your design that knew this moment, felt psychically this moment, and it's like now you can relax. It's here. You've crossed the threshold. There's peace. When this card appears, it's likely the stone is a remedy for what ails us. Humble and easily unnoticed, the power of the stone balances the frenzy of our world. So I also just feel this thing of like, there's no longer this element of me that was envisioning this huge shift in the future. It's here now, so I can relax. I can get up off of the high ground and come down to earth and relax and build my life a little bit more freely. Because for the rest of my life, it's going to be air. So I'm not waiting for this threshold that I sensed was just going to like shift everything in the world. So, you know, I still lived in it, but I didn't want to get too entrenched in it because there's something about my makeup that was made for this time. This is where I anchor. This is where I'm at peace. I can come to ground now and be at peace and relax and build my life more solidly because this is what I've been waiting for. Okay, let's see what animal also kind of comes out on top of this. Armadillo, trust yourself. Yeah. I mean, the armadillo has that hard shell too. It's like you have the boundaries you need. You've built over your lifetime the protections you need around you to be on the ground now, to be in the mix of life, no longer having to be above the fray and watching and guiding, but like into things, because you have a thick skin now. You have the skin that was meant for this epoch. You feel safe and stable to be down on the ground in the mix of things and to build a stable life and to feel stable and solid in this air element, which is so funny because air is this light floating thing, but you have stone and armadillo that like responds to the air, you know? So to me, paradoxically, my sense is that you have a very strong quality of air. And so you're in your strength. So it's not, to me, it's not like this weighted thing and this stagnant thing. It's more saying like you're strong in air. You know how to use air. This air epoch is one where you are more secure in yourself, more stable in yourself, hence able to be in the mix of life. Yeah, I love that. Okay. So with this quality coming out of you, with the new road finally being able to be set upon, what are you going to do with that? Where are you going with this stone armadillo strength and protection? Go deeper. Yes, you're deepening into life. You've been above the fray and everything, constantly scanning and watching and detaching and observing. And now it's like, oh, now I can come down and I can, put some roots into life. I was climbing up other things that had roots to find stability, but now I can go onto the ground and create my own roots and go deep because I know how to do it in this air construct of socio-cultural atmosphere. Okay. And strength. Oh my gosh. There we go. You are just, it's just, you're just ready to, you're feeling strong. You're going to be feeling strong. You're going to be feeling ready to be in the thick of things, in your, the thing that keeps coming to me is like in your element. You're now in your element. You've been, getting higher ground. You've seen it coming. You've been waiting, bidding your time, and it arrives. You finally get to be in your element in the way you saw was going to come in your lifetime. And forgiveness. That's really beautiful in addition, because the strength I am seeing here, and how deeply you are in your element in this epoch could, if you're not careful, lead to being, a little bit dictatorial or severe or domineering or something like that. But I love the forgiveness coming out, that it means that you're still seeking and connected to that higher mind snake part of you that has the wisdom to still be compassionate. There's still the depth that, snakes have a lot of depth too. There's still that depth in you of the snake. It's just that you're coming down to ground. But finding, forgiving ground, finding gentle ground, finding the ground that holds you just right, where you are able to deepen your roots finally. Like a lot of you may have, be people who felt a little bit like you've never been on your home turf. You've never been able to build the home you want, because you haven't found the soft, fertile soils that held you just right. And this is just more aligned with you, this epoch coming through. It's more in your tone and leading you to the right soils to be able to, find that tenderness to go deep. I love this. Okay, let's get some tarot cards to see. The first tarot card is like, what is the first, at this square coming, June 15th, 2025, like what is that first kind of like counteraction you need to take to kind of exit the old road and get onto the new road? Oops, fell. So kind of like the most immediate thing. 7 of Wands. Hold your ground. Know that if it feels like there are people competing against you, feeding off of you, copying you, whatever resonates in that realm, yes, create some boundaries, but know that like none of that, it's a little bit of an illusion in terms of a threat. Even if people are mimicking you a little bit or challenging your position or competing against you in certain ways, they're not real competitors and they're not real. There's an authenticity that's missing that can never actually challenge you. So yeah, I mean, like, put your guard up and create some boundaries, but don't be as threatened as you're gonna want to feel initially. I don't know why that's coming up, about exiting the old and entering the new road. Something about this is like the instigation to enter the new road, some kind of sense of competition could be a spark for you to enter the new road, but don't perceive the initial competition that's there to be as threatening as it is. Okay, so what's going to come after that? These are still pretty immediate, but like this was just like the very first thing you need that's going to kind of like push you to exit and enter a different road. So what are you going to start to find initially on this new road? And it is a testing point, so don't fret if challenging cards come up. Good for you if good cards come up, because it is a testing point. It's a first kind of tension. Six of Pentacles, you will find a lot of reciprocity in, people wanting to share with you, support you. That's very positive. You could find patrons, you could find family support, you could find fan support. Two of Pentacles, reframing. Very quickly you're going to, because you've seen this coming more quickly than the other piles or most people around you, I guess I should say, you're going to be able to reframe in this new epoch really quickly and really confidently. You'll be able to blend worlds, And Wheel of Fortune, yeah, it's very different. It's a turn of fortune for you, and you're going to feel that pretty quickly. Let's get a couple more cards. Four of Pentacles, being able to rest on your laurels a little bit, being able to build your foundations more stably, knowing what you're building. There's so much coming up here about like building, finally being able to create that foundation you need. A change of fortune in that, the support you need, the ground you need, there's so much about that. The ground you need is finally coming. And last card, King of Swords. Did I not say you're like a master in this realm? Like the earth energy is for whatever reason, whether that is something that's like in your own chart that you have a lot of air or have harmonious connections to air, I felt that you are like very solid in this element. And then we get the King of Swords, which is like the master of mind, the master of air. So that is showing up, and that's, these tarot cards were supposed to indicate like, pretty quickly on this road what's initially coming. And it's like, you get that very quick, like things are switching for you very quickly. It's a complete reversal of fortune for you, and your world is reframing. You're coming into your element. You're finding that gentle, beautiful, supportive ground you need to build the life you want. Okay, so further out, what do we have to look forward to ahead in this, at least this first 20-year epoch, which started in 2020. So as we get further into this 20-year cycle, what is going to anchor in and kind of like manifest? And these are kind of more abstract cards. I didn't want to make this too concrete, but just something to look forward to, interesting things on the further out horizon. Lingby, contemplation, intellect, evocation. Ooh. It's just, and on top of this King of Swords, it's like being able to show your beautiful mind. That's what pops into head, is like, you have a beautiful mind, and this is the epoch that supports and gives a platform for your ideas, for your kind of intellect, for the things you want to evoke in the world and in other people, and the kinds of contemplations that you muse about and that you evoke in others. And it's just, I think your beautiful mind has a platform now to finally shine the way it, is capable of shining. And so it's just like a beautiful time for mind, a beautiful time for finding solid and nourished and beautiful, supportive foundations to build the life you want. It's gorgeous. It's really, really beautiful reading for you guys. And you get to come down from the higher ground and be in life a little bit more securely and confidently, and really shine. So there you go. And I don't see you as like this, I don't get the feeling you guys are like, look at me types, wanting to be stars in the spotlight, but like there are things about you that are still just going to shine in their subtle, beautiful way. If you do want to be in the spotlight, you can have that. If you don't, you're still just going to be seen very beautifully and supported beautifully and that kind of thing. So you're just in whatever your element is, you're in it and you're shining for it. So there you go. Gorgeous. This is a primo reading and beautiful foresight for you guys for what's to come. I'm very excited for you. All right, if this did resonate, I always appreciate thumbs up. Helps other people find the reading as well. Definitely comments if this, there were specific things that were like, whoa, yes, that totally matches. I'd love to hear how this aligns for you. So happy journeying, happy entering this, breaking through, finally exiting the road of the old, being able to like embody this new era time, and good luck with it. All right, see you guys. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to this reading where we are going to be looking at the end of the road in how you have been interacting with this earth epoch that we were born into, this industrial age and time, and then looking at that ability, once you're able to exit that road for good and step onto the new road for good of the air epoch, with this first square between Jupiter and Saturn taking place on June 15th, 2025. If you did not listen to the intro, go do this and this will make so much more sense. But yeah, we're just going to look at how these two different times, how you interacted with them. First, we're going to look at what this Earth epoch was for you, what this brought out in you. We'll kind of do more of a quick look at that, and then we'll spend most of the time on seeing what's coming out of, what is this new air time going to bring out of you. So looking at this Earth time that we were born into, that you were born into, something it brought out of you, something, the way you kind of responded, how you connected with this socio-cultural tone of Earth, of, materialism and hierarchies and industry, that kind of stuff. You have the owl, which is activate psychic insight. So it's very interesting. I'm initially feeling some similar things to pile 2, but it is a little bit different. You're both coming from this like higher perspective, but I think the snake from pile 2 was more kind of not in its element during the Earth epoch. Whereas for you, it's not so much that you're not in your element. There's a certain, your connection to Earth is very advanced. It's very, I feel of any of the piles, you were probably the leaders in this epoch, in this Earth time. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're earthy people in terms of like loving to be sensual and have all of the material things, but like you see into like the deeper wisdoms of Earth. You have a lot of insight about Earth energy, and a lot of wisdom around it in a way where it's like you were able to it's like you're always a couple steps ahead of everybody else because of just your deep connection to Earth energy, your deep, it's like this, the psychic energy is what I'm picking up on, but it's like this really unseen, powerful, unknowable kind of quality of relationship you have with the Earth, and it's been allowing you to be, steps ahead always in the game of life. It's like you've been able to be a chess player in this Earth epoch. You know how to think ahead in strategy, you know how to think ahead in building life in this energy. So you were, I do feel the energy that the people drawn here were more leaders of this Earth time. But not in this like, it's more gaming to me than like accumulation. It's more the game of it. The game of being able to read the energy well rather than like enjoying the energy well, I guess you could say. Like a strange mental connection to Earth. I guess you could, yeah, it's interesting. Let's see, we're going to get one other card to go along with this. That might help uncover some things I'm trying to pierce, but I'm having a hard time with. This one wanted to come out. The mirror. Interesting. Wow, that's such advanced energy with Earth. Like really, okay, that does help. Like being able to see see facades and illusions for what they were too. Like, you know, and there's also a moon on this, and the owl is kind of a night creature. So there's this night element where it's like, being able to see through the illusions of this earth time, but also game it because of that a little bit. It's like you're the intelligence of the earth here, and you can see steps ahead, you can see through illusions, you're able to think in earthy ways. Or your mind knows how to navigate kind of the heaviness of earth in light, unperceptible, illusory, insightful, like I don't know, just crazy ways. But there is kind of this energy of like gaming. I don't know why. That'd be interesting if some of you are like, oh, I love gaming, you know. I'm not a gamer, so I don't even know if I'm saying right things. But, and it doesn't have to mean that you like literal games, but there's something wherein like the way you've been building life in this earth epoch is like, you're just always steps ahead and seeing through things and being able to spin things a little bit yourself if you want. But with the mirror, not in a way that's like deceptive. It's more in this way of being able to see things in their deconstructed manner, and so being able to reconstruct life from a higher place, because you see how it's just like you're seeing things very clearly. You know how to use things as mirrors to see everything more clearly in life, in order to be steps ahead, in order to make life happen in these strange ways that everyone else is like, how are they doing that? Or that was an interesting move, and like, wow, that was so lucky. But it's like, it wasn't. You were using earth in mirroring ways. You were able to find mirrors in earth to reflect clarity back to you, to be able to build with more clarity and maneuver with more clarity, and to be steps ahead because of that. Because for most people, it takes a while for things to get mirrored to us. And by the time they get mirrored to us, we've already done things wrong and have to undo and redo. But it's like from the inception, you have mirrors. And so you're always building with clarity. You're always seeing through illusions. You're always, it's very advanced energy around Earth. So my sense is you were able to navigate this Earth epoch very well, masterfully, really. It doesn't mean that you're like wealthy or enjoyed the material realm necessarily, but it's just like you just see things clearly in the material realm somehow. For a small few of you, that mirroring energy, because it is very advanced, it can be a deconstructive energy. And so there may be a few people who experienced this Earth epoch as more of a long life deconstruction, versus being able to, it was just like how you use the mirror. If you were interested, other things in your chart may have shown, if you had like Pluto transits or something, that energy may have been directed towards deconstructing. But if you had more fortuitous things in your chart, then you were able to use that energy to like really build a life steps ahead of the game of things. So I just wanted to put that in there, that like it's not, this didn't have to manifest positively for everyone, because our charts have all sorts of transits going through it. So yeah, if there were difficult things going on in your chart with like Pluto or Saturn or whatnot, it could have manifested more as like a big deconstruction of things, but in a way that still made you grow and clarified life to you over a long period of time. So I would imagine coming to the end of this road, however this manifested for you at the end of the road, there is some clarity coming through for you about this Earth time epoch. Okay, so from here on out, we're going to be looking at this new road we're going to be able to exit onto, finally, having sensed it there already. It's finally had its breakthrough and presents itself to us where we can tangibly step onto it and embody this new air epoch that's seeded in the end of 2020, and that the air will be here for the rest of anyone who is alive right now. Will not outlive the air, unless we have crazy scientific breakthroughs that lets us live hundreds of years, will not live past this air epoch of time. It's a 200-year cycle. Okay, so what will this air epoch bring out in you? How do you respond to this new kind of socio-cultural tone, like a time more of enlightenment and ideas and decentralization and, yeah, the poet. Okay, beautiful. So there's something in the air energy that is very inspiring. You still, the poet is someone who can say the truth in imperceptible ways. Their art and the use of very few words says so much, like it's truth and emotion and like universal truths that can be seen at the heart of the theaters playing out in life. And so just being able to inspire, to provide understanding, to reach people's hearts. There's still that, that owl psychic thing. There's still this, so that's something more ingrained in you, I'm feeling, than just the earth thing, how you connect to earth. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think in general, maybe you're just like very old souls. Okay, so let's get the animal connected to this. We've got seagull with tidy up. Okay. Look at all the birds in the poet. That air feels very present, like you're really catching that air, versus that owl that was perched high above on a tree branch kind of thing in like a place observing, very carefully, very attentively. There's something more free, more catching currents, being in movement here, that's coming through, but still being able to see to the heart of things and the universal of things and naming the emotion and speaking through heart, that knows how to cut through the clutter of life. We see this chaos of birds here, but it's like you can see through the chaos. You can see through them, with the seagulls and tidying up, they tend to gravitate where there's messes of things. It's like you're able to see through the mess of things to the truth of things, to the heart of things, and to the heart of things with air. So there's still this beautiful, very old soul energy, so like very advanced energy still coming through, but it's more in, rather than in this gaming sense that was there before, it's more dropped into heart. It's more dropped into inspiration and flow and something more free coming through here, which I really like for you guys. It was, back in the last one, now that I didn't necessarily feel it when I was there with Owl and Mirror, but now that I have this contrast, I'm like, oh, it was a little heady. It was a little bit heady, and it's like you're getting out of that now somehow. There's still, with the air and the birds, this element of intellect and head, but it's lighter, it's more free, it's not as like I don't know, like obsessive or fixed on certain things. It's just there's something that's lightening up, something that's feeling a little bit more free about this time. It might be a little messier. I'm not gonna lie, a little messier, but in a really good way, like in the best way possible, where it's like your heart is allowing you to be in a little bit more like in the mix of things, in like letting loose a little bit. Yeah, you're loosening up a little bit, and it is a little messier, but you're finding a way to enjoy that and embrace it, because it's like when you step into it and like start to allow your heart to be a little bit more of the anchor rather than the head, paradoxically in the airtime. It's like you immediately step into a little bit of a messier moment, but you quickly see like, oh, but when I come from my heart, I can still see the center of things. And when I use my heart, I get there quicker than when I was in my head and detached and not into the fray and mess of things. So it's like the best of both worlds, where it's like, oh, I can still get there. I can still get to the heart of the matter, or the poignant aspect of the matter, but I don't have to be above it. I don't have to be above things. I can be in it, I can be part of life and still find that. And so it's like more self-trust coming through, and it's because of dropping into the heart a little bit. So it does feel a little more fun than where you were. Not gonna lie. Not that the other wasn't fun, but it felt very serious. And this one is profound at the same time, but it's not as above it, yeah. You're like in it now instead of above it. Okay, so what are you going to be doing with this new kind of energy that responds out of you as this air epoch kind of starts to unfold, and as you enter onto this road of air being the socio-cultural kind of presence in the world? Chrysocolla, start fresh. I love that. Start fresh. There's so many, there's like this little bit of violet into periwinkle, into some blues, and then into some turquoise and some deeper aquas and stuff, where it is just this expression. I associate those colors a lot with like the throat chakra, a little bit into the third eye, but down into the throat chakra, where it's like some expression, some really potent expression is coming out of you. And then that start fresh, it's like, along with that tidy up, it's like there is just this new kind of fresh energy coming out of you, starting to surround you, surprising you that like when you do free up and lighten up a little bit and get into the mess of things, it's not as messy as you would think it is. There's still a fresh feeling. There's currents you're catching. There's, you know, there's more interest. Things are always being able to find a fresh perspective by coming down into things a little bit more. That's what it feels like, a fresh perspective, because of that feeling I had of like the third eye moving into the throat. It's like, yeah, a new fresh perspective that helps inspire expression and, you know, inspire inspiration being expressed through you. Okay, let's get another card. Ooh. Build. And that's cattail. Okay. Build. I'm not sure what we're building. Let's get the other oracle card I was going to do here to help flesh out what build means a little bit. Simplicity. Look, that feather again, like it's just things freshening up, things lightening up, building more simplicity into your life, into your perspective. You know, cattails, they're very, I think, if I'm thinking of the right things, they're very tall, so they do catch a lot of wind, but they're anchored pretty deeply too. So it's like knowing how to, that's very paradoxical and interesting, because this came up in another pile where it was like, interesting that the energy here is like finally knowing how to build foundations in life, whereas in the earth element, which is about building, you know, part of it is like building foundations, like wasn't happening well. I kind of feel the same thing here, not as dramatically for you guys, because I think that you were very smart with the earth time, but there's something that is coming a little bit more simply to you in how to build life and how to build a sense of confidence and security, and not making things so complicated. It's like that in turn helps you build your life more beautifully, in a more fresh, light, easy way. I just feel like an easier touch coming in here. Like things were a lot more complicated for you in the earth thing. And I think that that's because you know, I do get this heady element from you guys. And earth isn't very heady. It's, you know, it's sensual. But even though you had a very like advanced way of working with earth, it wasn't maybe your element, even though you did it well and were like still better than other people at it. I think maybe because you're old souls. I think that the air thing is more suited to you. I think you're more in your element, and you start to see your responses being easier, your responses being more natural, hence life becoming more simple, more fresh, more vibrant, and that leading to like just being able to build life a little easier. So I don't think it necessarily means you're building something better or that you couldn't build in the earth one, but it's like you're building more natural, you know, like it comes more natural to you to build a life or to, you know, create the foundations and reach towards the things and aspire. This is more aspiring. The other one was more like anchoring, but this is like like the things you're reaching for come just a little more simply, a little more naturally. They don't have to be as complicated. Oh, that's why Earth was so complex and advanced, is like it wasn't your element. But I think you're old souls, and you've probably lived through all sorts of epochs, and you already like had that, like down in your ancient DNA, already had this thing of like, oh, well, I know for my heady type, if I use mirroring, that helps me to work with the earth because it's not my natural element. So it's just like you knew the tools to use in that earth epoch, even though it wasn't really your element. You're just an older soul, so you knew instinctively advanced tools to use to still be advanced and masterful in that epoch. But now in the air epoch, it's more your element. It's interesting. I feel like the people drawn to my readings are probably a little bit more airy than earthy, because I've felt a little bit of this for every pile where things, air is lightening up, so it might just be that difference of earth and air. But I know in my chart I have quite a bit of air, so I wouldn't be surprised if I attract more airy people to my readings. But there is something coming through for your pile specifically where it is more free, it is more natural, hence it can be more simple. You don't have to use so many tools to make life work for you with air, because it's more natural, it's more of an easy response in you, and you know how to reach with it, you know how to build with it, you know how to keep things fresh with it. And there is simplicity there because it's natural. So you don't have to complicate things, you don't have to overdo things, you don't have to kind of always be watching because you're a little out of your element, That's kind of what I'm feeling here. Okay, let's do some tarot. We're going to look at the first step. So the separating square, this first separating square of our really prominent anchoring in of this air epoch happens June 15th, 2025. So like, what is that first thing that is going to trigger you to finally exit the old road that's already decrepit and dissolving and barely there, the earth road, and enter onto, do something counter to what you've been doing, to enter onto finally like embodying and being in that earth epoch energy. So like, what is that first thing that's going to happen that's going to inspire or instigate that exit and entrance? The Empress. Being more embodied. There's so many paradoxes in this because that's a very earth thing. But I think it's this thing of like, when you're more in your element, you can be more natural, and more natural can be more embodied. And so there's some kind of shift coming where it's like all of a sudden you're just like in your body. And that in your body is that thing that's like, oh, I'm doing different things now. I'm done with that road. I'm exiting that. I feel more in myself. I feel creative. I feel fertile. I feel beautiful, like more beautiful than I've been feeling. We had a bunch of cards just fall out. There's some kind of instinct, like I don't necessarily think it's an event that happens, but an instinct that starts to arise where all of a sudden you're just like in your body more and you feel more creative and things feel easier about being in your body for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because something more your element is being presented. Okay, so you get out onto this new road. I still am looking with all of these tarot cards, it's all like very, in this near future. So you exit the earth road, enter the air road, and what do we find? We find King of Pentacles. This is so paradoxical. Again, just starting to master your material world. There is just something more natural about air, and paradoxically that allows you to build materially more masterfully. Does that make sense? It just allows you to know how to build better, and have ideas about how to use the material. Like ideas are the air realm. So your ideas are, your ideas, the poet element of you and your ideas, and that air quality in you is attracting, material things to you because you're masterful in the air and more natural. It's more your nature. It is bringing, an opening to build in the material realm. It's like attracting more wealth to you, more things to build with, so your ideas could attract money, your poetry could attract abundance of some sort, materially speaking. Just starting to feel more, in general, between the Empress and the King of Pentacles, it's just like feeling more comfortable on Earth in a body. Maybe you felt like an alien before, like I might be that, starseed energy from a different planet, and that might have actually just been because, maybe you are just an earthling, but like you're more airy than earthy, and so now that you're in the air element, in your element, you're more comfortable it's more comfortable to be on the planet and in your body and in a material 3D world kind of thing. It's a lot of paradoxes. What else do we have here? 5 of Cups. Okay, some kind of loss, haunting. 2 of Wands. So there is something on the old path that you're maybe going to have this sense of like, I didn't get to wrap that up right or correctly, and there's some grief around that. Could create a haunting quality within you, but you can channel that into creativity. There are just, sometimes there are just things that there's no good way to wrap up. There's no perfect ending, no perfect way to sever ties or to let things move on or to transition. Sometimes that's just messy, and there's no good way to do it, and it can haunt us a little bit. And I don't know, I do feel something like that coming through, but that being something that also can fuel a lot of creativity and allowing some grief to move through you with the air. You know what? Maybe there's already some grief that lives in you, some things that have haunted you for a long time, and you're finally, that air is allowing you to see those hauntings and use them and channel them into poetry and into creativity, and finally do something with some things that have haunted you for a long time that you didn't know how to move in that earth epoch. It was too dense of an energy for you to move it the way you needed to. And now you're able to move some things out of you and create with it. That's what it is. Yeah. And 2 of Wands, like new, it's giving you new trajectories, new focuses, new possibilities, new horizons to explore. Very cool. Let's get a couple more cards. Here we go. Those are our last 2 cards. So 4 of Swords and 4 of Cups. Ooh, a lot of contemplation and meditation there. is very interesting. It's like there's a lot of stability coming through here. The fours are stability, and then we have that King of Pentacles, which is stability, and we have build, which is, you know, usually we build when we're stable. And stability in swords is like stability of mind. So it's like your mind is at peace, probably because you're able to move some ghosts out of you, some ghosts of the past that have haunted you, that have held some grief stuck in places in you. Something about that moving is bringing new stillness and peace to your mind. But with the Four of Cups, well, against the Poet though, because the Four of Cups can be apathy and kind of a little bit of I don't know if depression's quite the right word, but it's more like insecurity, like hiding in your cave because you're a little bit insecure. But it's a Cancer zodiac sign card. And so in the context of the Poet coming out and everything else I'm feeling, especially with like the Empress coming out here, and tagging on to what I've been saying about the Five of Cups and using ghosts of past as, you know, finally being able to move those and use them as creation. That Four of Cups can be this time of like really going into your inner world to feel your feelings and stabilize in your feelings, and create, you know, build something out of your feelings. And so in the sense of the Poet, I do think, in the Empress, between the Poet and the Empress, I do think that Four of Cups is pointing at like going into some deep places and building some stuff from that. Like really using some of your deeper emotions to channel your creativity and move some things out of you that are now stirring, that are now moving. And so you need to go in, you know, you need to go in now that things are moving there. You have to go in order to create with them. And so you may kind of be that, there still might be a little bit of a remoteness in this, you know, like being an old soul, it tends to like a little more solitary energy. So even though there's times where you might get into the mix of things and find that it's not like it's easier to be there, and you're finding more of your heart center than you used to, I still think like in your creation mode, when you go into Poet mode, you do probably in this epoch will still probably want some solitary time to create, but out of like a creation mode, you know, like really tapping into those inner things to create art, to create your poetry or whatever it is, to build those things from emotion in life. But I think I'm feeling this ebb and flow here of like getting into the mix of life and experiences and then going within to channel creativity and build something out of those emotions, and then getting back into the adventures and mix of life and then back inside to create, you know. So it's this ebb and flow of experience and then inward kind of hermit time to create, and then experiences, you know, and adventures, and then inward time to create. So kind of this artist's energy coming through. It's a little bit eccentric, you know, but it's a very elder energy. And I just think that you guys are older souls that have come here. And so that's just in general kind of your function, I think, too. But something's loosening up, lightening up. You're starting to create more creative energy, more embodied energy, more in your element, life feeling fresh and more simple and more, you know, just it's flowing better. It's just, Yeah, things are just flowing better, and things are moving that have been stagnant, that have been weighing you down. Yeah. Okay, last card we're going to do is to look at down the road. You know, all of these tarot cards were what are you going to anchor into pretty quickly and start to see in this new kind of mode coming out of you, in this new response? Like, what are you seeing pretty immediately in the next, 2 to 6 months, starting to like, okay, this is my new mode in terms of this socio-cultural tone. But further down the horizon, into this first air cycle, which is a 20-year cycle, and then we'll have another air for a 20 years, we'll be in different air cycles for our whole lives now. But this first one is a 20-year one that started in 2020, so till 2040. So further down the road in this cycle that lasts till 2040, what's going to start manifesting? What are, and I'm doing a deck that's a little bit more abstract and conceptual because I don't want to get too specific about far down the future. So just generally, what is this energy going to start manifesting as we get further into this first air epoch? Mica, sparkle, fragility, and hope. Yeah, I like that sparkle. It feels like the things lightening up, things moving in you and being able to make them beautiful and inspiring. The poet understanding the fragility of life, but being able to weave beauty and hope in the weakness and the fragility of life, and the beauty of the cycle of things, of how, the paradoxes of life, of how, strong and capable and determined we can be at the same time as being very fragile and tender and sensitive, and like knowing how to like just weave those paradoxes and inspire hope amidst the theater of life and being a human and dramatic times, and just being this kind of guiding light that knows how to like word things just beautifully and really touch people, and being that like you may not be this big leader of causes and movements that Aquarius energy tends to bring, which is the first air energy we're anchoring in. You may not be like the rebel force leader, but you're that like philosopher that gives, that gives hope, that people attach those words and it drives them, It's like your creations keep people going and inspire the leaders, and it's like you're kind of distant and far and hard to touch and ephemeral, but you are that force that keeps people inspired. It's like the things you create are the hope, so gorgeous. And of course it would be, only the old souls can really, not only, but leave it to old souls to really know how to anchor that in. Any age soul can really do that, but old souls as like an archetype and continuous in that know how to do that. So, okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. I kind of almost got a little emotional at the end of that one. It's just really beautiful. I think you're just allowing yourself to feel everything and compose with it, things that are very meaningful. So yeah, anyway, good luck in this new kind of like finally being able to embody and step into intangible ways this air epoch of socio-cultural time. Good luck on the journey. Definitely would love to hear in the comments how this connects for you. Minimally, just if it does connect, a thumbs up will help other people find it as well. And wishing you the best on this beautiful new time for you guys, and this lightening up and really coming into yourselves. So, all right, I will see you guys in the next reading.